Hey there, my name's Garrett. I've been a home brewer for over 20 years, and something doesn't feel right here. That's more like it. Hi, I'm Garrett. I've been drinking beers every day for the last 20 years, and somehow I'm not built like a sack of milk. Want to know how I stay fit without quitting beers altogether or joining a cult? Let's get into it. In this three-part video, I'll cover how I'm able to drink beers and stay reasonably fit year-round. Stay tuned for information about my journey, recommendations about working out at home, but also psychology and methodology of training and dieting. A few months back in the communities section, I asked you guys if you wanted a video like this, and you nearly broke the internet, so here it is. If you're watching this right now, it probably means you want to be less of a tub of lard. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible, but with the amount of salesmanship disguised as information on the internet, I feel like it's really important to educate along the way, so that way, later on your own, you can separate the wheat from the chaff. First and foremost, this is a homebrew channel. It should go without saying that the slackjaw in Montana that is brewed out of a Unabomber shack isn't a doctor. In general, doctors say that alcohol is not so awesome for you. For what it's worth, I've made several videos highlighting low alcoholic beverages and how to make them. I'll include those links. So when I say I'm a daily drinker, I mean 2 to 3 beers, 3%, and not going full John daily.
Sticking with beer, you want something stronger?
I quit drinking, I'll stick with beer.
However long you think whatever you're trying to do is going to take, it's probably going to take 3 times the length. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will you be. This isn't 6-minute abs, and this isn't dropping 20 pounds in a month by adding this one secret ingredient to your daily coffee enema. Be honest with yourself and your consumption. How long did it take you to gain the weight? How did you get there? Your body is basically a receipt for your lifestyle up to this point. We are being constantly exposed to stimulative extremes that our eyes have never had access to before. This was the fattest man in the world 130 years ago. Maybe if you lived in his hometown, or if you were in a city where a circus stopped by, you could have a look at him. He was around 600 pounds. Now, this dude might not even be the fattest guy at your local Walmart. That's one extreme. Now we have social media, the fitness influencers. You know, the people with the chiseled abs, selling you a gimmicky product they didn't use to get the results. Their literal business and brand is to look insanely impressive for a snapshot of time, under perfect lighting, and always with a sick tan. And it's always the use this product to get 10% body fat. You gotta ask yourself, have you seen this physique out in the wild? The sub 10% number? That number's been thrown around so often that it's lost nearly all meaning and how nearly unachievable for most to reach, let alone hold. In my age bracket, 10% body fat basically doesn't exist for Gen Pop. Note that the average body fat is 28%, so a 200-pound male with 28% body fat is literally carrying around an extra grain sack's worth of fat, that being 55 pounds. The social media sphere is one of those few places where drug use and eating disorders are celebrated with adulation, praise, and potentially vast amounts of endorsement money. Chemical enhancements are very normal, but don't allow that to dissuade you. If you're easily affected by what you see on social media, you might not even want to follow anybody. Conversely, following a physique that you really admire can spur inspiration. For example, if I could get to just 10% of peak Serge Nubret, I'd be thrilled, but I'll just try to be happy where I am right now, and strive to be a little bit better every day. Remember that 50 years ago, this was a very normal scene. I'll spare you the imagery of a 2025 beach. This is actor Tobey Maguire, and he literally played a superhero in 2002. He was 26 years old here. I remember when the movie came out, and there was quite the buzz over how good he looked. He's clearly in great shape, yet obviously he's not a 210-pound mass monster at 8% body fat. If I posted this picture of myself anywhere on an online fitness community, I would get, "Do you even lift?" Yet, 70% of the American population is overweight or obese. In my day-to-day travels, especially when factoring in my age, I'm in very good shape. So, something doesn't add up. Remember that physique inflation, both ways, whether we're talking about the super fat, yeah, I could stand to lose 20 pounds, or the do you even lift crowd, is very real. Number 3, stop looking for the shortcut because it doesn't exist. Time is going to pass regardless, so you might as well do something and feel good about yourself in the end. You can suffer now, or you can suffer later. Think you're too old to start? Psh, nonsense. Would you rather be the oldest guy at the gym or the youngest guy at the nursing home? You will learn things about yourself along the way. Don't take this too literally, figuratively, emotionally, or any of the other lees that I'm not privy to. I'm just a random dude on the side of a mountain with an internet connection. There are tons of ways to do this. It's not rocket surgery. This is just the way that has worked for me and doesn't impede too much on my life and still allows me to have some fun along the way. Based on my channel demographics, and to narrow the scope of the videos somewhat, I'm going to figure that you're a dude from North America and somewhere between the ages of 34 and 54. So let's split the difference and say 44. I couldn't find a computer-generated picture of a 40-year-old, but this one of a 30-year-old will suffice. Don't worry, Sweden, I see you there. In all seriousness, though, I'm going to assume that most of you have little, or at least no recent experience lifting weights. Not only is going from 0 to 5 times a week to the gym reasonable, it's completely unnecessary. Your body is new to the stimulus, and 2 to 3 times a week is enough to spur change and will actually be something you'll stick with. You can likely ride this out for something like 1 to 2 years without actually tweaking anything. If you love Smith squats because you can really connect with your quads and regular squatting is uncomfortable, do the Smiths instead. The latter part of the statement, though, isn't a reason to sub an inferior, less stimulating exercise just because it's easier. Remember, there are no shortcuts for hard work. If nothing changes, nothing changes. If you really challenge yourself and you don't eat like an 8-year-old, you can expect to see some progress in the form of moving more weight and adding reps. This is new stimulus to your body, and your body will rise to the occasion with adaptation. This is really encouraging part of the process, and you will get motivated if you aren't really excited about exercise in general. Depending on your level of adiposity, there can also be a lot happening under the hood that you might not see in the first many weeks or even several months. You need to build a muscular base first. It's important to use all the instruments you can to ensure that your ship stays on the right course because your eyes can deceive you and this process can feel like it takes an eternity. It also helps to motivate you. The entire overarching goal of this video is to provide you the tools to build a reasonably muscular base, all the while losing body fat to improve your overall body composition. That way, when you say to her on the online dating app that you're built like actor Christian Bale, you don't have to point to either of the bottom pics. Here is my humbling starting point. I think it was 15 or 16 here. As you can see, a blank canvas begging for muscle to be added to a balsa wood frame of a skeleton. As we go forward, it is said that the average male lifter can add 30 to 40 pounds of muscle in their lifetime and increase their core lifts by threefold from their starting points. Or at least that's what I heard somewhere on the internet a long time ago. Speaking of genetics, statistically speaking, you're probably here. The Joe Bauer of genetics. Average. Over here is someone not as fortunate. I'm not saying that Danny DeVito isn't hilarious, but physically, he's not exactly an oil painting. Over here we have the elite and the super elite. In addition to great genetics and drugs, the amount of work that these people put in is mind-boggling, and they deserve all the awe that the grand stage can provide them. You can be mad all you want, you probably aren't going to be over here, but it's not going to change anything. It's kind of important to keep this in mind. With hard work and time, you can take your average and become above average, or good, and or pretty freaking good, but you'll never become Lee Priest at 13 years old freaking amazing. But back to me. I'll include some PRs when relevant. Be prepared to be underwhelmed, since everyone on the internet apparently already benches 315 pounds for reps. This will be a self-depreciating, autobiographical account of the unremarkable. I started lifting weights at the beginning of university. I think this is after 1 or 2 years of training, so I was probably 22 years old. I don't know about how much I weighed here, but I do know that this picture was taken on the day that we got our first kegerator and got it semi-balanced and pouring decently. I also remember our first keg, a full 15.5 gallon keg of Old Milwaukee, and it cost us what we thought at the time was a king's ransom of $39. The game we were playing, you ask? There was really no name for it. We just took turns shooting each other in the back with blunt-tipped blow darts while drinking. Stupid man shit like this is how I knew I never needed to worry about my testosterone levels. I'm sure this impromptu game had absolutely nothing to do with us getting the kegerator working a couple hours previously. These next few picks I was probably 25 or 26, so I had 5 to 6 years of training in, and it was at the tail end of university. This is my peak chaddom. I'm really proud of my traps and build in general. I was stupidly active at the time, lifting 5 days a week and playing ice hockey 3 times a week. Worth noting, I was working at Pizza Hut at the time, so I was eating pizza 3 to 5 days a week as it was free. Naturally, I was booze hounding it too. Being young, but more importantly, expending a boiler's room's worth amount of energy daily can forgive now unthinkable dietary atrocities. Let's fast forward 13ish years. Here's where the hero of our story faces adversity. I moved to Asia. Don't get me wrong, Asia was very good to me in so many ways, but I took my foot off the gas. This was me at the very end of my 30s in 2020. This happened slowly and incrementally, without notice, over the course of a decade. The very slow muscular decline was the result of taking it easy at the gym. I still went 3 times a week, sure, but was just kind of going through the motions. Korea, at the time, didn't really have a very serious gym culture. I shouldn't have let this be an excuse, but I let it affect my effort for some reason, as nobody else was really going hard, so why should I? Second, I love Korean food, and, as awesome as it is, I was just slamming low-protein soups and rice bowls, as they were cheap, filling, and delicious. I'm not saying they aren't nutritious. They're just very low protein and thus helped me whittle away to mere cock and balls. The final nail in the coffin was I was playing hockey 2 times a week. It sounds counterintuitive, but this was awful for my physique. I was playing goalie most of the time, and the demanding nature of the position was wreaking havoc on my hips and lower back, so my lower body training suffered. Getting off the ice at 12 a.m. meant I wasn't actually going to sleep until 2 and sometimes 3 a.m. Anybody who exercises that late knows how difficult it is to sleep after absolutely being wired from competitive exercise. Lastly, I'm sure the 3 or 4 beers I had to help me actually fall asleep wasn't helping my recovery any. This was a wake-up call, for me, during the worldwide thing that happened in 2020. While people were arguing about which Fauci was the best, I actually did something about my health, put my head down, and got back into shape. Stay tuned for part 2, where I explain why some commercial gym experience is a must, and I give you a complete tour of my compact 100 square foot gym, some 20 years in the making.